to the last F1 Bake Off challenge before the summer break. We're in Hungary and I'm going to make a cake called a Doboz Torte, which is a sponge cake with chocolate buttercream and caramel topping. So, let's get cooking! So the first thing you need to do is turn the oven on to 220 degrees centigrade. That's 200 in a fan oven or gas mark 7. Then you need to take some greaseproof paper and an 8-inch cake tin. Put the cake tin on the greaseproof paper and draw around the outside of the cake tin on the greaseproof paper. You need to do this 6 times, but in the good old Blue Peter tradition, this is 1 and here are 5 I did earlier. Next, it's time to make the sponge. So into a bowl, you need to crack 4 large eggs and add 175 grams of caster sugar. Then take your electric whisk and whisk it up until they're light and fluffy. Once the eggs and sugar are whisked until they are light and foamy, you then need to take 150 grams of self-raising flour and add it to the sugar and egg mixture a little at a time, and take a metal spoon and fold it in. Once the flour has been added and you have your sponge mixture, you need to take your greaseproof papers and spoon the sponge mixture onto each paper and fill up the circle. Once the sponge is on the greaseproof paper, you then need to transfer it into the oven and cook for 6 to 8 minutes until they are pale and golden and springy. If you've got a big enough oven, you can also put several of them in at the same time. Once your sponge circles are all cooked, you need to peel them off of the greaseproof paper and let them cool on a wire rack. The next steps are to make the chocolate buttercream and the caramel topping. Because the caramel needs to set, that's what I'm going to make first. So you need to take one of your sponge discs and put it on some greaseproof paper, and take another sheet of greaseproof paper as well. Then into a saucepan, you need to add 175 grams of caster sugar and 5 tablespoons of water. You then need to put a saucepan on the stove, and you need to pop it onto a low heat until the sugar has dissolved. Then you need to turn up the heat and boil it rapidly until you get a caramel colour. Once the sugar and water have dissolved and you've boiled it rapidly and it's resembling a dark straw colour, you need to pour half of it over the sponge mixture . And the rest of the mixture needs to be poured onto the clean greaseproof paper and left to set. When the syrup on the sponge is just beginning to set, take an oiled knife and mark out 16 pieces. To make the chocolate buttercream, first of all put 2 large egg whites and 100 grams of icing sugar into a bowl. Place the bowl onto a saucepan of simmering water and then whisk it until the mixture holds its shape. Once the egg whites and icing sugar are whisked up and hold their shape, tip it up, see it holds its shape, they will also look very glossy. Next, you need to add 225 grams of unsalted softened butter into a bowl and mix it up until it's really soft. Once the butter is softened, it's time to add the icing sugar and egg mixture a little at a time. While you are doing that, over a saucepan of hot water, melt 100 grams of plain chocolate. Chocolate needs to be at least 37% cocoa solids. Once you've added the egg whites and icing sugar mixture to the butter, you'll get something resembling this. Then all you need to do is wait until the chocolate's melted and let it cool for a little bit before adding it to the icing. Once the chocolate icing is done, all that's left to do is layer the cake up. Once you have sandwiched the sponge discs together, you can put the chocolate buttercream over the top and around the sides. Then you should pipe 16 flour things around the top. I don't have a icing piping kit, so I'm not going to. But then you take your sponge disc that you cut into 16 pieces that have the syrup on, and you put them onto the cake all the way around. The last thing left to do is the caramel that you put on the baking sheet. Once that has set completely, which this isn't, a bit like syrup now, you need to crush it up with a rolling pin and sprinkle it around the sides of your cake. And then enjoy!